The following production is brought to you by the Talkin' Buds Leaf Show.
Here we go, Talkin' Buds Leaf Show. How's it going, everyone? I'm Rob. He's Ryan. 2 games since we last convened. A pretty dominant win over the Philadelphia Flyers, followed by an extremely frustrating, just annoying shootout loss to the Carolina Hurricanes on St. Pat's night. What do you think of the modified St. Pat's unis?
They look better.
Yeah?
I like the clover better than just the... Actually, no, I didn't hate the other one. I didn't hate the St. Pat's, just the font, but I do like the clover. I kind of wish they could go back to the Sundin ones, though, where they wore the brown pants and that was all green. I kind of would want to see that, but I mean, I like when they wear them. It's pretty cool.
Steve Dangle said this on Twitter, and I agree with him. Just reverse the colors.
Yeah, exactly. Make their jersey green.
Yes, just do green sweater with green pants, green helmet, and just white trim. That's a way better look. I don't know why they insist on white, but this is not to go off on this random rant, but this is an issue I have with this team in general. It's if you look at this team's history of uniforms, there's so many great ones that they could have as a third jersey. The reverse retros from last year were arguably the nicest Leaf jerseys I've ever seen, and they only wore them twice. And they insist on their third jersey being the stupid Bieber Drew House ones. I hate those unis. I sound like such an old guy. That's such an old guy take.
I agree. I mean, I don't really see that how a third jersey isn't necessary, and I don't mind them being traditional, being we don't wear a third jersey, because at one point third jerseys kind of got out of control. But yeah, I wish if they're gonna wear the black one, wear a better one.
Yeah,
the black one is
last year's reverse retro, nice. And then the ones they wore in their first ever Winter Classic in 2013 at the Big House. Those were incredible. You could totally do something like that, but no. We insist on
Drew
House, and then St. Pat's that we wear once a year. But anyway,
it is what it is.
So I think the main topic within the fan base right now, especially coming off Saturday night's loss to the Hurricanes, is special teams. You and I have talked a lot this year about how confounding their power play is. It's it's really frustrating to watch. They are 1 for 24 in their last 9 games. They're still 4th in the league though, but we've kind of got back to, I've always said I think the power play is sort of a window into the psyche of how these guys play. It's when they went on their 7-game run a few weeks ago, it was efficient. Everyone was in the right place. It was very workmanlike in their approach. And now we've got back to pass. Look for the prettiest play possible, just not efficient. Efficiency is out the window. Then on the other side, you look at the PK, 24th in the league. The PK has been terrible from the word go this season. It has not been good all year. It has missed assignments. It's guys the attention to detail is not there. And to me, if you're heading into a playoff series against either the Boston Bruins or the Florida Panthers, this is at the top of the list of concerns for me, because both of those teams are going to eat your shitty penalty kill alive.
Yeah, and if your penalty kill sucks, you're gonna have your power play has to be good to take advantage of those opportunities. Their penalty kill has always kind of sucked. I mean, it really shows that maybe even with Marner gone, it's still I would say he's a very important part of it, but I mean they've been awful all year. I don't know, the penalty kill, it's tough to really break down why the penalty kill sucks, because penalty kill is all about effort. And it's just if the effort's not there on the penalty kill, then your penalty kill is going to suck. There's no game. I hate when someone describes someone as a penalty killer, it's a special skill. I don't think you have to be a special player to be a great penalty killer. I think anybody could kill a penalty. It's all about just effort in making the right decision at the right time in terms of covering a man or going after a puck. One thing they struggle with on the penalty kill is when they get the chance to put it down the ice in a tight space, they don't.
No.
The guys on the back end really struggle with making a quick play and moving the puck quickly. And sometimes they have the opportunity to get the puck out and they don't get it out. And then now guys are out there stuck out there tired, and it's not a good situation.
Well, and you brought in these guys. You brought in Edmondson, who for some reason I keep wanting to call him Tim.
Tim Edmondson?
Yeah, the other day, and I'm kind of like, no, it's not. It's not Tim Edmondson. And then Connor Dewar, your favorite guy. They brought him in. They brought these guys in to help with PK and like defensive situations. And like you look at
those guys. They just got here.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
You know, like they can't. It's kind of tough to come in. I know it sucks because when you add a guy at the deadline, you want them to make a difference, but it's pretty tough to like come in and just immediately change the whole face of the penalty kill. After how many games have they played? Like,
and you're coming into a unit that has stunk all year.
Yeah,
in terms of the PK. But this is Sheldon Keefe, man. It's just like this is. The attention to detail's not there, and it's not something that, like, I don't think their PK is going to drastically improve heading into a playoff series because Sheldon Keefe has not been able to improve it all season long.
No.
And it's just further, one of the knocks I've had on him is, like, you know, the starting on time, like playing the right way, attention to detail. These are all things that Sheldon Keefe, like, he preaches, but when you watch his teams, they don't do that. So anticipating a great turnaround in the PK, I think you're going to be waiting a long time for that.
Yeah, I just don't think their defensemen are fast enough at making a play when it needs to be made in the D zone on the PK, and it just kills them when they can't get the puck out.
Yeah,
because then they're exhausted, and then I don't know, they just give up that goal, and it's hard to analyze though because playing a PK is just like it's not rocket science. You have your diamond, you have your box, you take your man. When there's a scramble, you either get a guy in there, you either get a second guy in there. Like, it's not rocket science. It's hard to really pinpoint why a team's PK sucks. But then you just look at the numbers. They're 24th in the league, so I guess it means it kind of sucks. But I don't know. They're just not getting pucks out at the right time and not covering the right guy at the right time, letting a guy slip behind you. Like, I don't know. It's not good. I'll tell you. I'll say that.
Yeah, and well, you said, like, you know, it's all about working hard. And to me, that's kind of what it comes back to. And it's not that these guys don't work hard. It's just, like, yes, they're out there trying their best, but it's attention to detail. It's that sort of thing. You mentioned it earlier. We should bring up that they have been bitten by the injury bug here a little bit. Like, Marner, we assume, rolled his ankle in the Bruins game last week. And I don't know. I've got two takes on Mitch Marner being hurt. One, if you look at the standings, the Leafs are pretty well into third place, right? So leave him out as long as he needs to be out. If he's out for the rest of this month or whatever, keep him out there. Keep him, get him healthy, get him some rest. I'm fully on board with that. Second, and I was thinking about this watching the Philly game, and then he ended up scoring. But I don't think it's the worst thing for Auston Matthews to have a good stretch of time here without Mitch Marner, because that dude's got to be able to drive his own line. And there's times where I think his game, to a degree, has become so reliant on having Marner as a puck distributor, and he needs to figure out how to not play like that anymore and drive his own line. As of next season, you're going to be the highest paid guy in the league. Drive your own line. And there was a great discussion on the radio this week about how the Leafs as a forward unit are the most dangerous when they've got their skilled guys spread out through three lines. So if we can get Auston Matthews' confidence up in terms of driving his own line and being able to play with whomever is on his wing, that gives you the ability to spread Marner and Nylander out and makes them a more dangerous team. It's funny, someone laid it out on the radio this week, and it actually makes so much sense. It's like, if you're going up against the Leafs in a playoff series and they've got their lines sort of laid out the way Sheldon Keefe has had them in the playoffs before, they're a pretty easy team to handle. It's like, just shut down the top guys, you shut down the rest of the team.
Yeah, we see it every single year.
Yeah, you're not going to get any depth scoring from, or they haven't got any depth scoring. Maybe this year that'll be different, but
they haven't gotten any primary scoring.
Yeah.
Either.
Yes. Because the assignment, like the defensive assignments from the other team are on the best guys.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty easy, like if you're the coach of the other team, it's not difficult.
No. And it's funny how we've seen just random players, absolute nobodies, who on any given day is just an average NHLer. Just stick him on Matthews, stick him on the Matthews assignment, and all of a sudden the guy's a legend. It's like they could be shut down by players who
or guys
who aren't even elite guys,
or guys who have scored big goals. Like Nick Paul comes to mind.
Yeah,
like
it seems like it's easy to shut them down though. It's like that your game plan is to go out there and shut them down, but going out and shutting down McKinnon and McDavid is a very tough task. All your game plan could be shutting those guys down, but guess what? Those guys find a way to not be shut down. The problem with these guys, it's so easy to shut them down, and that's what is so frustrating watching them.
Well, that's why I think that, like I said, I think this stretch here, Sans Marner, is really important for Auston Matthews. The Philly game was the first time I can remember seeing a lot of people on Leaf Twitter being vocal about Matthews' aversion, to get involved in the physical stuff.
Oh, yeah, he's a. Sometimes I'm wondering where his pulse is in an emotional moment. Like, how have you not thrown a spaz at this point in your NHL career? I guess we cross-checked Darlene in the head. You could call that a spaz, but sometimes he's getting pushed around, and I get it's not your game, but as a man, if some guy's just punching you in the face with his glove, aren't you just gonna get pissed off and just give him a shove back? I know we're kind of beating a dead horse here with this take, but
but we're not though, because we talked about this last week and we still had people in the comments being asking your best players to fight. It's so it's not even about. It's about. I know.
You have testosterone in your body. When someone is agitating you and pushing you as a human being, as a man, you get pissed. Eventually you're going to hit a point where you're going to just fight back and bite back. And it just seems like he doesn't have that in him. And that's a problem when you're playing in the most physical league in the world, basically. It's just come on. At some point, you have to be a man and stick up for yourself, because it's just sometimes I'm just is he even breathing out there? I don't know.
When you have these types of discussions, people, I think, sometimes tend to hear what they want to hear. And it's to your point, no one's saying Auston Matthews needs to go out there and replace Ryan Reeves. But it's if another guy takes a shot at you, last year against Tampa in the playoffs comes to mind, when Steven Stamkos just starts wailing on him and
he's just standing there.
Yeah.
You can take this guy, man.
Yeah.
You're a big boy.
Or just push back, because what you're doing is you're sending a message to the other team that they can push you around. And teams, you've seen the Bruins exploit that in this team before. If they play the Florida Panthers what do you think the Florida Panthers are going to do game one? They're going to start running around, and they're going to do exactly what they did last year. Sam Bennett slamming Matt Nye's head into the ice. That's the game plan. And these guys know that. There has been people who have speculated on Twitter. I don't know if this is fact or if it's just speculation, that Sheldon Keefe is the one who's kind of preaching skate away, don't get involved, which
I don't believe that.
I don't believe that either.
I don't believe that.
No.
I don't think. I know Sheldon is kind of seen as a Dubas disciple, but that guy runs pretty hot all the time. I have a hard, and he's played in the league too. I have a hard time believing that. Maybe don't take a dumb penalty, or if it's a nothing throwaway game, don't give the other team momentum. But you're telling me in a playoff series, he's looking at his best players being skate away, skate away from the physicality that just buries you guys every year.
It's just funny because there was the iconic quote from a few years ago, our power play is our response.
Oh my God.
And that that is just stuck with this core group of guys.
Yeah, but it's not the response.
No, and and I think when you look at their potential 2 playoff opponents here, so like my world with respect to this team, if something happens and they lose a few games here, then that'll change. But I feel like at this point in time in March, we're kind of back to where we've been the last few years. It's like they're gonna finish 3rd. And you're just looking, they've got a lot of interesting matchups left for the remaining few weeks of the season, but I'm focused solely right now on the Boston Bruins or the Florida Panthers. And both of those teams, their best players have bought into playing a hard-nosed, edgy style that makes it difficult on their opponent. And it's like, here we are again.
Yeah, we're talking about this again.
Yeah, we're talking about this again. And so it's kind of like, I don't know. This is such a weird year for me because I actually like their team. I like that they've got Max Domi. I like that they went out and added some size in Joel, aka Tim Edmondson. I like that Ryan Reeves has looked pretty good since he's come back. I like that Keefe has experimented with the lineup this year. I like that Matt Nyes has solidified himself as an everyday NHL player. But at the same time, it's like I'm looking ahead to whoever they're going to play in the first round, and it's just like, oh my God. Like, Ralphie made a good point on the radio this week, though, where he said...
I love Ralphie.
Where he said he actually loves them as an underdog. Because if you look at them we as fans in the last few years have gone into the playoffs being like, it's an uphill battle, but they have been the favorite in every playoff series they've had since probably their last series against the Bruins.
I don't believe. See, I heard that too. You're telling me they were a favorite against Tampa Bay 2 years in a row?
Well, statistically, they finished ahead of them.
But like Vegas also had
the
Blue Jays winning the World Series. Like betting lines aren't the mentality in the room to me.
No, I know.
When you're playing the most dominant team in the past 5 seasons, you're not the favorite. So I don't really buy that, to be honest with you.
I think the idea is hopefully Keefe can use that to kind of, my favorite word of this season, galvanize the group and get them ready to go. Because it's going to be an uphill battle, man. I'm kind of like, I just don't, maybe they are doing this, right? But if I'm Sheldon Keefe or anyone, I'm calling these core guys into the office, and I'm saying, we're going to play one of these 2 teams, and they're going to come out in game 1, and this is the message they're going to be trying to send. If you guys don't respond, we're doing the same thing over and over again.
If he has to have that conversation in the first place, I think you're already losing.
He totally does, though.
Roll the tape. Roll the tape. Play the last 6 years and how the season's ended and who it's ended against and how it's ended. You gotta pull these guys in and tell them again. How do they not already know? It happens every single year, man.
Ryan, I guarantee you they have to pull them in and tell them again.
That's ridiculous. That's a joke. To me, they've already lost if they have to do that. Play the tape. Play the last 6 elimination games. And you lost 2. You lost 2 to the Bruins. You've lost 1 to Florida already. It's just, why do you have to tell them? They should know. Yep. That's what they get paid for. That's what they're supposed to do. That's crazy. If they have to do that, then they're already done. They're already done to me.
When you watch,
remind them.
So in the last 2 weeks, we've seen the New York Rangers and we've seen the Carolina Hurricanes. These teams are a lot. They're similar to the Leafs. I'm watching the game against Carolina, and it's like these are 2 pretty evenly matched teams that like to play the same way. I think the difference, though, is with Carolina, Rod Brind'Amour, that team works hard.
Yeah, that team has more attention to detail, but they just don't have as many game breaker regular season scores. And you've seen it with them in the playoffs too. They haven't really made it that far.
And I think I'm glad you said that, because that's the point I'm trying to make with the Leafs. It's if you're going to be a team that wants to play, because other teams in the league that are good play kind of the way the Leafs do. They don't run around. They don't have any shit disturbers. Well, I guess the Rangers have Rempe now. but they're not the Florida Panthers who are trying to run you out of the rink, and they're not.
Rangers are a lot like the Leafs.
Yeah, and they're not the Boston Bruins who are trying to play head games with you from the moment the puck drops. The difference, though, is what you just said. If the Leafs want to be a team that is like, we're not going to engage in the sort of mental warfare with the physicality, then we are going to be so buttoned down with our details that if you do start running around on us, we're going to make you pay for it by scoring.
Yeah.
And that requires a mental discipline, and that requires working extra hard, which this team sometimes does and sometimes they don't.
Well, I've always said Carolina's never made it far, but they made it to the conference final last year. So who the hell am I to criticize them? You know what's funny is you mention the power plays are response, which has been just a hot. Everyone likes bringing that up. You know what would be cool if it actually was the response. That was the stupidest part about that take.
But that's the point. Not to cut you off, but that's the point. So why has the power play gone 1 for 24 in the last 9 games? Because we've gotten away from efficiency and we've gotten back to pass. Let's look for a pretty feather across the zone for a quick bang. Nobody, like, you've got the guy in front of the net, whether it be Bertuzzi, Tavares, whoever. Throw the puck on net and let him bang it in. That's not what they want to do. And again, that's a mental focus and that's attention to detail. And they get away from that and they start wanting to play. I hate saying like street hockey or road hockey or shinny or whatever, because that sounds like such an old guy thing to say. But it's like they want to play pretty, and the results go out the window.
Yeah. I mean, if they just get stuck on the perimeter, like they're just pass on the perimeter, trying to look for that. They either try to find the guy out front for that like beauty one time from like in tight, or other than that, they really don't have any other play. Or Nylander just skates around and looks for a shot. I mean, you could make the argument that what's going on with the power play right now is just the ebbs and flows of a power play throughout a season, because they are still 4th in the league, and that's how power plays. That's how you get to your percentage at the end of the day at the regular season. Is you're gonna have some hot periods, you're gonna have some cold periods. The problem is their power play is just not clutch at all. Like, yeah, they're going through a tough time right now, but at the end of the day, they're still going to be a top 5 power play. But we know from past experience and watching this team, we know this power play is not going to come in the clutch when it needs to come through in the clutch. And that's why it's like, you can make any excuse you want for the power play, but until they actually score a clutch goal at a clutch time, you're never going to feel good about it.
Like the star players, the power play has a history of disappearing when you need it the most.
Yeah.
And you couple that with the brutal PK. Like, this has to be priority number 1 on Sheldon Keefe's to-do list heading into because these two teams that you're going to play are going to eat your PK alive. They're going to eat it alive.
Yeah, especially the Bruins. I feel like their power play. I feel like the Panthers are just going to beat you into submission, and then the Bruins, you're going to get more into the. I don't know. Yeah, I feel like they're screwed against either team, but I don't feel good about. Like, you're looking at the standings, you look at those two teams, and I don't feel good about it at all. It's getting closer, and I'm trying to find solutions, and I don't even think.
Well, this is why I hate to beat a dead horse, but I'm going to go here again. This is why the decision to retain Sheldon Keefe was a terrible one, because like you and I have been talking about for the last few minutes, if you're going to beat these teams, you need the details of your game dialed in, and you need the mindset of the team to be, we cannot take our foot off the gas for 1 second, because either one of these opponents will make us pay. And this Leaf group, under this head coach, has never shown an ability to do that in the playoffs. And I know there's a lot of people who get really angry about this, and it's the whole, these guys are paid a lot of money, they don't need a coach to come in. It's ridiculous that they need a coach to come in, but guys, we've watched these star players enough now. They clearly do. Like, they need someone that's going to get it through to them. You have to play this way to win in April and May and June.
But I don't give a fuck if Scotty Bowman is behind the bench at some point, these guys have to look at themselves as adults, as men, and play better.
Well, that's what
I'm not going to sit here and pin this all on Sheldon Keefe, which I don't think is what you're doing. I understand the point that you're making, but at some point, I don't care if you have Quenneville, Bowman, Pat Quinn, Patty Burns behind the bench. It's at some point these guys have to show up in a big game and play well.
Well, that's what we ran it about last week. It was feeling frustration about why are you still unable to grasp the level you need to go to? Like, why can the Carolina Hurricanes make it to a conference final? And I know there's someone who's going to hear me say that and go, well, they're not in the Atlantic Division. And listen, I understand. The Atlantic Division is a lot like the AL East in baseball.
Yeah,
it's for sure the toughest division. Yeah. No one's taking that away from them. But you know what? That's the cards you're dealt. And so you kind of got to look at it and say, okay, this is the mountain we got to climb. How do we do it? And it's like Carolina is able to get to a conference final because they're not as rough and tumble as some of the other teams, the Bruins, Panthers, whatever, but their details are locked down, man.
For sure, they have the top combined power play and penalty kill in the NHL right now.
And I actually thought in the game on Saturday, the Leafs were winning. Like, the Leafs looked really good and scored a few goals in the transition game, which is where they want to play. But then, again, one team has its details buttoned down, another team doesn't. And the team that has its details together comes back, ties the game, wins in a shootout. And the one that doesn't is standing there looking bewildered with 2.7 seconds or whatever it was left in the game, and it's tied and we're going to overtime.
Yeah.
After having a 3-0 lead.
Yeah, I don't even like trying to analyze or trying to make excuses for them blowing that lead. It's just you blew the lead.
Yeah.
And yeah, they didn't play terribly. Like it was a fun hockey game.
Yeah, it was.
They're
very
ways.
evenly matched, and that's so they've the two top dogs in the Metro. Like, we've seen them. Like I said, we've seen the Rangers and we've seen the Hurricanes in the last little while, and we've seen the Flyers actually, who's third place in the Metro. They match up well with the Metro teams.
Yeah,
they do. They match up really well.
Yeah, you're right. The two Atlantic teams are just they're way ahead of everybody else
because they have because they play.
Yeah, they have
just watch the Florida Panthers play. Like, every check they finish.
But they also have the combination of like they have great goaltending, both teams, and they both can move the puck on the back end. They just have a lot of things that the Leafs don't have. What the Leafs do have is elite scoring, but when your elite scoring is not scoring when it needs to score, then it's useless. But other than that, the Bruins have better D-men. They move the puck better. They have better special teams. They have better goaltending. So if your only thing you're relying on is your top guy scoring goals and they're not scoring goals, then you're screwed.
Yeah, 100%.
And even, you know what's funny when they play the Bruins too? It's like, even when the Bruins are so good and so inside the Leafs' head that even the game where the second game that they lost, where it got a little nasty, even when the Leafs like try and be nasty with them, the Bruins like still always come out ahead. Like, they come out, McCabe plays a nice hit, and it's like, good start. But then all of a sudden they're down on a 5-on-3 and the Bruins take advantage of them. And then they're trying to fight them all game. But the Bruins know how to fight, but they also know how to like get away with being dicks. Like, you know, like I don't know.
And the Leafs' psyche against these opponents is so fragile that when you get a bounce like that, it really puts you behind the 8 ball. And
like, when you look at Marchand, like, the guy does that thing to Liljegren earlier in the season, and there's just like no repercussions, no whatever. And then he also kind of had that weird thing with Nyes where he's just so good at that.
Yes.
Like, he can do those things and not get penalized and just get under your skin.
Yep.
And then Max Domi goes after him and tries to like do something about it. And then he kind of looks stupid because Marchand's just smiling in his face, being like, "You're getting a penalty. I haven't gotten a penalty all game." Like, they're such masters at that. And the Leafs they don't have that. They can't compete with it.
I'm never going to let you get out of an episode without commenting on your guy, Tyler Bertuzzi. I thought it was his best game in a Leaf uniform against the Philadelphia Flyers the other night. He had that tip-in that got taken away, which was one of the nicest.
That was one of the nicest goals I've
things-
ever seen in my life.
Yeah, you'll ever see. He last Saturday against the Habs, I thought he looked lost playing with Matthews and Nylander. Since then, I think he's looked better and is starting to figure it out. And the MO of this guy was, this is a guy you want on your team come playoff time. And that his game is much more suited to playoff style hockey, which actually makes sense because throughout the bulk of this year, we've seen the Leafs do their regular season wheel and deal thing, and Tyler Bertuzzi has not looked good in that. And when the game slows down and the time and space goes away, he's a guy that he excels in that type of play. So
what do you think it was? Like, why do you think he was so... Because he was awful. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Like, he was very awful for the majority of this season.
I think...
Like, was he just like... Here's what we know about him. He cannot skate with the puck in any sort of space.
No.
He does not carry the puck well at all. He doesn't make great decisions when he has time, which is kind of like... You watch Nylander. Like, the guy, he's the complete opposite of Nylander. Nylander's out there just skating around like a maniac with the puck 24/7. But I'm watching him now, and... He's starting to put in some goals, and it's not like he's playing any sort of, like, I don't know. I just don't know what it is with him. Why was he so brutal? Like, I'm having a hard time putting my finger on, like, he kind of just looked like he wasn't ready to play.
Well, I kind of think, but again, I think for the way this team likes to play, like we've been sitting here ranting about it for the last half hour, about they like to wheel and deal in the regular season. The Stars struggle in the playoffs when time and space goes away. They want to play one way, and when it gets difficult, they struggle. And I think Tyler Bertuzzi is kind of the opposite of that, where, like you said, time and space, and if he's got to carry a puck, it's not his strong suit. It's not. But when the games get tight and you got to go into the corners and you got to win puck battles and you got to bang in, that's one of the things that's driving me nuts about the power play, especially when Bertuzzi's on it. It's throw the puck at the net and let this guy bang in a rebound. Stop looking to feather one across the goal line and have it bang in on the other side or whatever. And so I think now, like, what's happening every year is a lot of these other playoff teams are starting to round into playoff form. A lot of the Leafs star players are like, oh shit, what is this? I can't go out there and skate around and make beauty passes. And Bertuzzi's a guy who's like, no, he kind of thrives in the tighter games. Like, Tyler Bertuzzi is the classic loose puck in front of the net, banging a rebound type guy. That's what he is.
Yeah, but that's like Auston Matthews does that too. Like,
But
I get what you're saying. I know. Like, but now he's just starting to score more goals. So it's pretty clear that this guy is useless unless he is scoring goals. And my problem with him too is he was sold as an agitator. And I've
he's
seen
been
him,
a bit better.
I've seen him be an agitator once this whole year.
He's been a bit better. He dropped the mitts against the Bruins.
That's the only game.
No, he was in on scrums against the Flyers too. Like, he's holding his own. Listen, man, I'm sorry. When you watch these star players, I'm not going to criticize anyone else. Like, at least Tyler Bertuzzi will go in there and give someone a shove and not stand there.
I did, but like, he just started doing that.
Okay, but
I thought all year he was not doing that.
But I'm not gonna. Yes, but he's doing it. He looks better. He looks like he's getting more comfortable. He has to figure out if he's gonna. I think Sheldon Keefe, with the way he's been deploying the lineup, especially when Marner's been out with an injury, is saying that he would like Tyler Bertuzzi to be a factor up in that top six. So he's got to figure out what his role is playing with these star players, and it's not.
We're never finding the solution for this. I hope you know that.
But it's not skating up and down the wing looking for a pass.
So sick and tired of hearing about the deploying of the lines. He changes them every fucking game. And they all work for a game, and then they don't work for another game. Well, I'm so tired of hearing about his fucking lineup. Like, it's ridiculous. Like,
well, do you think that's part of the problem?
It's like every day we're talking about the deploying of the lines.
Yes,
it's
because
like,
you're right,
God.
because they change so much.
Yeah, it's just like, I guess that's what you have to do. And if you look around the league, I'm sure every team tankers, but like, it seems like every day we're trying to find this magical potion of this perfect lineup, and it doesn't fucking exist. Like, I'm so tired of talking about this. How about you set a lineup and everyone goes out and and forechecks and plays hard and like it's just like it changes every day.
What do you think of so they've lost Marner, they lose Yarncroc, and he moves Pontus up again.
That just shows you that they just have no, like they're so strapped for cash that they're one injury away from Pontus being on the front line.
And nothing against Pontus. I think Pontus is a good player, but like Pontus is Pontus looked good on the fourth line, and you just move him up there. And so like we're kind of saying it's weird, but this is a perfect example. You look at the top line they started the game with against Carolina. Matthews between Bertuzzi and Holmberg. I look at that and I go, well, what's Matthews supposed to do with Pontus? And Bertuzzi, as I said earlier, can excel in certain situations but can't in others. So what's he supposed to do with this? But at the same time, it's like,
Rob, look at Sidney Crosby.
Exactly. It's like same time, it's like, bro, you got to drive a line, man. You got to drive a line yourself.
Yes. And like yes. What I find when Matthews doesn't play with Nylander or Marner, the whole complexion of his line changes because then because Auston Matthews is a good skater, but he's not a guy who gets a puck, and he's not McDavid. He's not even Nylander in that sense. So I find when you take either of those guys off his line turns into more of like a forechecking style line where you got to get the puck in and go get it. And I think sometimes he doesn't really know how to play like that, which goes to your earlier point where he's relying on Marner because Marner can get the puck in space. And I know maybe in the playoffs it doesn't work, but on the average night, Marner can make things happen in open space, and Matthews has to get to the right areas of the ice. When you see him with Bertuzzi and Holmberg, there's just not a lot of speed with the puck with those guys. So it kind of turns into a forechecking style line, and sometimes he can look a little lost in that area.
Which further goes, we talked about this earlier this year about, I think, because of the money he's paid, we look at him and we say, if you want to be like Sidney Crosby and if you want to be like Connor McDavid, and then like this is how you got to do it, this is how you got to play. But the reality is, Auston Matthews is Alex Ovechkin. That's what he is.
Brett Hull.
Yeah. Like that's what he is. He's a goal scorer first and foremost. He's not a guy that's going to go out there and dynamically skate around with the puck.
No. Here's what I'll say about the lineup. Everyone's favorite thing.
But you're annoyed with this. The reason why it is such a topic of conversation is because Sheldon Keefe just like, you gotta believe that these guys come to the rink every day and are like, who am I playing with today? Who am I going to get 30 seconds to try and develop chemistry with today?
Yeah, but here's what drives me nuts though, is it's never good enough for us either. Yeah, he's switching up the lines, but say he's stuck. At some point, there was a time where he's stuck with the same lines. And what were you doing? Crying about how he has the same line. So, like, I'm getting frustrated with him. I'm getting frustrated with the fan base that no one can find a place that they're happy with in terms of this lineup. What I think about the lineup is I like spreading out the guys. I think ever since that happened, where he started spreading out Tavares and Nylander, I think that's the best they've looked. And whoever you want to slot in on their wings, like that's just what it is. I think you stick with that principle, and whatever's working come game one, like you just go with that. But I think it may be because you have to cover this team every day. There's not a lot to talk about, and Keefe is switching the lines a lot. But it's just like every time I turn on the radio, every time I listen to a take, it's just about who's playing with who, and it's kind of driving me nuts. Keep those guys spread out, and just whatever winger is playing well with them at that time, just stick with that. Why do we need to talk about it every single day like it's someone has a magical textbook answer sheet somewhere about the perfect lines for this team? As one day it's going to look good, and the next day it's not. And so at some point,
he's the one that changes it. Like, he's the problem. Like, he's the one that changes it. When the second they have, and he does it within a game. Like, that's the thing. It's not like it's like one game it's this and the next game it's that. It's like if there's a line that is struggling in a game, he'll come out for the third period and he goes back to Old Faithful. Let's pair Matthews and Marner together. Let's pair Tavares and Nylander together.
Matthews and Marner are never going to be playing on a separate line.
And that's because
I've accepted that.
Which is also, I think, part of we're not going down this road. But I do think these guys have say in that, and I think that's a huge part of the problem and why Sheldon Keefe needs to be removed. We're not going down that road.
The only guy on this team, like, I think Nylander above anybody else. And I know Marner hasn't gotten as much opportunity, but I think Nylander's proved more than anybody that he can drive his own line, because you put him on a line with Matthews or Tavares, and it doesn't look great. You could stick Nylander out there with any two guys, and he's just going to carry the play on his own. Like, I would for sure stick him on his own line, and you could split him and Tavares. Him and Tavares do not need to be on the same line at all.
But I do think with the Matthews and Marner thing, it's like, listen, if you guys, we're going to end the episode here by bringing the conversation full circle. If you guys are going to insist we play together, if Auston Matthews is going to look at Sheldon Keefe and say, Mitch Marner is my winger, then you're going to get the other team's best defensive assignment, and you're going to have to overcome it. And you're going to have to get your heads around the fact that there isn't going to be time and space out there. You're not going to be able to play the way you're able to play and have success in November. And you got to make those adjustments. Or else we're going to have to look at separating you, spreading the wealth throughout the lineup, and making it more difficult on Jim Montgomery or Paul Maurice as to who they're going to put out against you. Because right now, it's not that tough.
No, it's really not. And we all know they're not going to do that. So it's just a mute point.
Yeah.
A fun little conversation.
It is. It is.
We know it's not happening.
But I've said this numerous times. Like, there's no way these guys are coming to the rink every day and are thrilled. Like, you show up to the Ford Performance Center and you're like, who am I playing with today? Who am I going to get 30 seconds to try and develop chemistry with today before this guy changes his mind and throws it all in a blender again?
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah, putting Domi back at center is just a little.
Well, they're fucked in the center ice position because like Connor Dewar can play center, but it's like David Kampf is not.
See, I actually thought that Kampf, McMahon, Nyes line was playing well.
Yes,
they were getting on forechecks. They were on the positive side of the ice most of the time. I saw no problem with that line. I thought they were great together.
And to your point, Ryan,
like
he throws it in a blender and changes it up.
What was wrong with that line? That line was great. I thought they played extremely well.
See, and he gets away from it. So Matt Nyes comes and like they're playing. Nick Robertson gets a goal, and he looked good. Nick Robertson, you know what? A lot of people were getting on Nick Robertson about his comments this week about how he wasn't thrilled about being sent down or whatever. I kind of like.
Shouldn't be thrilled.
Good. Yes, exactly.
He shouldn't be.
Why
would he be?
Exactly. And everyone's like, well, that's not the vibe this team needs in the room. It's like, I completely disagree.
It's totally
you need someone
the vibe
in the
they
room.
need.
Yes.
Yeah.
You need someone in the room that's like, fuck this shit.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna go out there and work my ass off because I'm tired of the way I'm treated around here.
Yeah.
And like upset the apple cart here a little bit. I there was nothing wrong with his comments in my mind.
Let's get like another guy that we haven't really talked about. I know we got to get out of here, but is good old Simon Benoit.
Well, there's another guy too. Like this. Listen, I do think here's my opinion on Simon Benoit. Okay, I do think the fan base being outraged over a guy who was like touch and go to make the team.
I wouldn't say like
is a bit silly. Having said that, he's played really well and has been a heart and soul guy for this team. And Keefe takes him out, which has probably messed with his confidence a little bit. So he's another guy when he eventually draws back in, should have a chip on his shoulder and say, you're not taking me out again. But it just, again, goes to show that they look at their defense group and they see Tim Liljegren and they go, we need you to be one of our 6 guys come playoff time because you're a right-handed shot. You were a first-round draft choice, and we need you to be a guy for us.
Yeah.
And Sheldon Keefe is like, because he's been scratched in the playoffs before. He's a guy that his game is not suited to playoff hockey at all. Like that dude cannot box out in front of the own net and in front of his own net to save his life.
He's a player without an identity.
Yes.
Like, I don't know what he is. Like, he's not an offensive player. He's not a great defensive player.
Well,
like,
and you kind of, I think putting him with Edmondson, you hope that it has the Morgan Riley effect on Tim Liljegren, where he can sort of jump up into the rush and take more chances offensively because he's got sort of a stable partner back there. That's kind of what you hope. And I think that's what they're trying to make happen now. But listen, I would not be surprised if come playoff time, Tim Liljegren's up in the press box and Simone Benoit is out on the ice.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I don't think I was outraged that he wasn't.
Oh, a lot of people
lineup.
are, man. A lot of people are.
It was just too bad because he was just playing well and he got forced out. But it was just. I just found it kind of funny. It was just like automatically he was the odd man out. But I guess they want to make the right shot work with Liljegren really badly. So,
all right, you take a look at the week ahead. They've got the Flyers again, back in Philly again on Tuesday. The Washington Capitals Wednesday. Saturday, the Edmonton Oilers come to town. And then Sunday, a rare Sunday game, which means we will be back to podcast probably next Monday against the Carolina Hurricanes. So, I mean, Leafs Oilers Saturday night, hockey night in Canada doesn't get any better than that, man.
No.
Like that's as good as it gets right there.
I was kind of kept my eye on that Oilers Avalanche game. That was quite the game.
Yep. And then after they play the Oilers, every game the rest of the way is an Eastern Conference opponent. Florida Panthers twice.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay Lightning twice.
Devils twice.
Devils
Capitals
twice.
You count
Devils
Carolina.
3 times.
Yeah.
New Jersey Devils 3 times.
Yeah. Ugh. Tampa twice.
Tampa twice. Yep.
Weird schedule.
It is a weird schedule. And then ending the season back on the road back to back in Florida. Oh boy.
Nice momentum.
Oh boy.
Watch them dominate those 2 games.
I know.
And then we'll go in talking about how perfect Keefe's lineup is. I'm so sick of the lineup.
All right. Thank you very much for checking us out, everybody. If you like what you see, hit that like and subscribe button below. Follow us on our socials. The link to those are below as well. Also, if you like the show, again, leave a comment, engage. Every little bit helps.
Spread the word. Tell your friends.
We really appreciate it. We'll see you guys next time.